London, Royal Dutch Shell announced on Thursday that it had agreed to buy a Britain-based provider of electrical power and natural gas, one of the boldest in a series of recent investments in non-oil and gas energy businesses by large European oil companies. The acquisition of First Utility, which has about 825,000 residential customers, was an indication that Ben van Beurden, Shell's chief executive, was wasting little time in acting on a commitment he made last month. Mr. van Beurden had said he aimed to ramp up investment in new energy businesses toward $2 billion annually, in an effort to reduce the company's carbon emissions. The purchase price was not publicly disclosed. Shell, Europe's largest oil company, and other firms are responding to pressures from investors and the public to shift from fossil fuels like oil and gas, which scientists have tied to climate change. The companies are also striving to remain relevant in case the demand for oil, which is currently growing strongly, wanes in the coming decades. Several of the investments, like BP's recent commitment to invest $200 million in Lightsource, a solar power developer, have been made to establish or bolster companies' positions in green energy generators like wind and solar. Shell is taking the trend a step further by becoming a distributor of cleaner energy through acquiring what is essentially a utility. First Utility is one of a group of power providers in Britain that take advantage of deregulation to compete with established power giants like Centrica and France's EDF as energy suppliers. First Utility, which is privately held, does not own wires or power plants, but obtains its electricity and natural gas through Shell. Mark Gainsborough, Shell's Executive Vice President of New Energies, said in an interview that First Utility fit the company's strategy of growing in various parts of the electric power business, an energy sector that has seen great change in recent years. Britain and Germany, for example, have built large capacities in clean energy sources like wind and solar power. Some analysts and energy executives, including Mr. van Beurden, have forecast that demand for electricity is likely to grow rapidly in the coming decades as electrical power becomes a key medium for reducing carbon emissions through electric vehicles and other innovations. Our strategy in new energies is to build a stronger position in the power business, Mr. Gainsborough said clearly. We want to be in a position over time to sell a portfolio of products to customers which are lower in carbon. Analysts say that acquiring a residential power business gives Shell another way besides charging points at gas stations to provide fuel, in this case electricity, for the growing fleet of electric cars. Perhaps they are trying to make sure they have exposure to the rising electricity demand from electric vehicles, said Deepa Venkateswara, a utility analyst at Bernstein Research in London. The new business would serve as a hedge for any reduced demand for gasoline and diesel fuel, she said.